Chapter 29, Lev. More than 1,000 miles away, Lev is about to arrive as well. The destination, however, is not his own. It's Cyrus Finch's, Joplin, Missouri, home of the Joplin High Eagles, reigning state champions in girls basketball, Sci-Fi says. You know a lot about this place. I don't know anything about it, Sci-Fi grumbles. He knows, or knew, or whatever. Their journey has gotten no easier. Sure, they have money now thanks to Lev's deal at the pawn shop, but the money's only good for buying food. It can't get them train tickets or even bus tickets because there's nothing more suspicious than underage kids paying their own fare. For all intents and purposes, things between Lev and Sci-Fi are the same, with one major unspoken exception. Sci-Fi might still be playing the role of the leader, but it's Lev who is now in charge. There's a guilty pleasure in knowing that Sci-Fi would fall apart if Lev weren't there to hold him together. With Joplin only 20 miles away, Sci's twitching gets bad enough that even walking is difficult for him. It's more than just twitching now. It's a shudder that racks his body like a seizure, leaving him shivering. Lev offers him his jacket, but Sci just swats him away. I ain't cold. It ain't about being cold. It's about being wrong. It's about there being oil and water in this brain of mine. Exactly what Sci must do when he gets to Joplin is a mystery to Lev, and now he realizes that Sci doesn't know either. Wherever this kid or this bit of a kid in his head is compelling him to do, it's beyond Sci's understanding. Lev can only hope that it's something purposeful and not something destructive. Although Lev can't help but suspect that whatever the kid wants, it's bad, really bad. Why are you still with me, Fry? Sci-Fi asked in one of his body-shaking seizures. Any sane dude would have taken off days ago. Who says I'm sane? Oh, you're sane, Fry. You're so sane you scare me. You're so sane, it's insane. Lev thinks for a while. He wants to give Cyrus a real answer, not just something that chases away the question. I'm staying, Lev says slowly, because someone has to witness what happens in Joplin. Someone's got to understand why you did it, whatever it is. Yeah, says Sci-Fi, I need a witness, that's it. You're like a salmon swimming upstream, Lev offers. It's inside you to do it, and it's inside me to help you get there. Salmon, Sci looks thoughtful. I once saw a poster about a salmon. It was jumping up this waterfall, see? But there was a bear at the top, and the fish, it was jumping right into the bear's mouth. The caption beneath, it was supposed to be funny, said, "The journey of 1,000 miles sometimes ends very, very badly." There's no bear in Joplin, Lev tells him. He doesn't try to cheer Sci up with any more analogies because Sci's so smart, he can find a way to make anything sound bad. 130 IQ points, all focused on choking up doom. Lev can't hope to compete with that. The days go by mile, town by town, until one afternoon they pass a sign that says, now entering Joplin, population 45,504. Chapter 30, Sci-Tie. There's no peace in Sci-Fi's head. The Fry doesn't know how bad it is. The Fry doesn't know how the feelings crash over him like storm-driven waves pounding a failing seawall. The wall is going to collapse soon, and when it does, Sci will lose it. He'll lose everything. His mind will spill out of his ears and down the drains of the streets of Joplin. He knows it. Then he sees the sign, now entering Joplin. His heart is his own, but it pounds in his chest, threatening to burst. And wouldn't that be a fine thing? They'd rush him to the hospital, give him someone else's ticker, and he'd have that kid to deal with too. This boy in the corner of his head doesn't talk to him in words. He feels, he emotes. He doesn't understand that he's only a part of another kid. It's like how in a dream you don't know some things and other things you should know, but you don't. This kid, he knows where he is, but he doesn't know he's not all here. He doesn't know he's part of someone else now. He keeps looking for things in Cyrus's head that just aren't there. Memories, connections. He keeps looking for words, but Cyrus's brain codes words differently. And so the kid hurls out anger, terror, grief, waves pounding the wall, and beneath it all, there's a current tugging Sci forward. Something must be done here. Only the kid knows what it is. Would it help to have a map? Asks the Fry. The question gets Sci mad. Map won't help me, he says. I need to see stuff. I need to be places. A map's just a map. It ain't being there. They stand at a corner on the outskirts of Joplin. It's like divining for water. Nothing looks familiar. He doesn't know this place, Sci says. Let's try another street. Block after block, intersection after intersection, it's the same, nothing. Joplin's a small town, but not so small that a person could know all of it. Then at last, they get to a main street. There are shops and restaurants up and down the road. It's just like any other town this size, but wait, what is it? He knows this street, says Sci. There, the ice cream shop. I can taste pumpkin ice cream. I hate pumpkin ice cream. I'll bet he didn't. Cyrus nods. It was his favorite, the loser. He points a finger at the ice cream shop and slowly swings his arm to the left. He comes walking from that direction. He swings his arm to the right, and when he's done, he goes that way. So do we track from where he comes from or where he goes? Cy chooses to go left, but finds himself at Joplin High, home of the Eagles. He gets an image of a sword and instantly knows. Fencing. The kid was on the fencing team here. Swords are shiny, the Fry notes. Cy would throw him a dirty look if he weren't right on target. Swords are indeed shiny. He wonders if the kid ever stole swords and realizes that yes, he probably did. Stealing the swords of opposing teams is a time-honored tradition in fencing. This way, says the Fry, taking the lead. He must have gone from school to the ice cream shop to home. Home is where we're going, right? The answer comes to Cy as an urge deep in his brain that shoots straight to his gut. Salmon? More like a swordfish twisting on a line, and the line is pulling him relentlessly toward home, says Cy. Right. It's twilight now. Kids are in the street. Half the cars have headlights on. As far as anyone knows, they're just two neighborhood kids headed wherever neighborhood kids go. No one seems to notice them. But there's a police car a block away. It's parked, but now it begins moving. They pass the ice cream parlor, and as they do, Cyrus can feel the change inside of him. It's in his walk and the way he holds himself. It's in all the tension points of his face. They're changing. His eyebrows lower, his jaw opens slightly. I am not myself. The other kid is taking over. Should Cy let it happen or should he fight it? But he knows it's already past the point of fighting. The only way to finish this is to let it happen. Cy, says the kid next to him. Cy looks at him, and although a part of him knows it's just Lev, another part of him panics. He instantly knows why. He closes his eyes for a moment and tries to convince the kid in his head that the Fry is a friend, not a threat. The kid seems to get it, and his panic drops a notch. Cy reaches a corner and turns like he's done it 100 times. The rest of him shudders as he tries to keep up with his determined temporal lobe. Now a feeling comes over him, nervous, annoyed. He knows he must find a way to translate it into words. I'm gonna be late. They're gonna be so mad. They're always mad. Late for what? Dinner. They gotta eat right on time or I'll get hell for it. They could eat without me, but they won't. They don't. They just stew and the food gets cold and it's my fault, always my fault. So I got to sit there and they got to ask me, how was my day? Fine. What did I learn? Nothing. What did I do wrong this time? Everything. It's not his voice. It's his vocal cords, but it's not his voice coming out of them. Same tones, but different inflections, a different accent. Like the way he might have talked if he came from Joplin, home of the Eagles. As they turn the corner, Cy catches sight of the cop car again. It's behind them now, following slowly. No mistake about it, it's following. And that's not all. There's another police car up ahead, but that one's waiting in front of a house. His house, my house. Cy is the salmon after all, and the police car is the bear. But even so, he can't stop. He's got to get to that house or die trying. As he nears the front walk, two men get out of a familiar Toyota parked across the street. It's the dads. They look at him, relief in their faces, but also pain. So they knew where he was coming. They must have known all along. Cyrus, one of them calls. He wants to run to them. He wants them to just take him home, but he stops himself. He can't go home, not yet. They both stride toward him, getting in his path, but smart enough not to get in his face. I gotta do this, he says in a voice he knows isn't his at all. That's when the police leap from their cars and grab him. They're too strong for him to fight them off, so he looks at the dads. I gotta do this, he says again. Don't be the bear. They look at each other, not understanding what he means, but then maybe they do, because they step aside and say to the cops, let him go. This is Lev, Cyrus says, amazed that the Fry is willing to risk his own safety to stand by Cy now. Nobody bothers him either. The dads take a brief moment to acknowledge the Fry and quickly return their attention to Cyrus. The cop frisks Cyrus to make sure he has no weapon, and satisfied, they let him go toward the house. But there is a weapon. It's something sharp and heavy. Right now, it's just in the corner of his mind, and in a few moments it won't be. And now Cy's scared, but he can't stop. There's a police officer at the front door, talking in hushed tones to a man and a woman standing at the threshold. They glance nervously at Cy. The part of Cy that isn't Cy knows this middle-aged couple so well. He's hit by a lightning bolt of emotion so violent he feels like he'll incinerate. As he walks toward the door, the flagstone path seems to undulate between his feet like a funhouse floor. Then, finally, he's standing before them. The couple looks scared, horrified. Part of him is happy at that. Part of him sad, and part of him wishes he could be any place in the world. But he no longer knows which part is which. He opens his mouth to speak, trying to translate the feelings into words. Give it, he demands. Give it to me, Mom. Give it to me, Dad. The woman covers her mouth and turns away. She presses out tears like she's a sponge in a fist. Tyler, says the man. Tyler, is that you? It's the first time Cyrus has a name to go with the part of him. Tyler. Yes, I'm Cyrus, but I'm also Tyler. I'm Cy-Ty. Hurry, Cy-Ty says. Give it to me. I need it now. What? Tyler, says the woman through tears. What do you want from us? Cy-Ty tries to say it, but he can't get the word. He can't even get the image straight. It's a thing, a weapon. Still, the image won't come, but the action does. He's miming something. He leans forward, puts one arm in front of the other. He's holding something long, angling it down. He thrusts both arms lower. And now he knows it's not a weapon he seeks, it's a tool. Because he understands the action he's miming, he's digging. Shovel, he says with a breath of relief. I need a shovel. The man and the woman look at each other. The policeman beside them nods, and the man says, it's out in the shed. Cy-Ty makes a beeline through the house and out the back door with everyone following behind him. The couple, the cops, the dad, and the fry. He heads straight for the shed, grabs the shovel, he knew exactly where it was, and heads toward a corner of the yard where some sticks stick out of the ground. The twigs have been tied to form lopsided crosses. Cy-Ty knows this corner of the yard. He feels this place in his gut. This is where he buried his pets. He doesn't know their names or even what kind of animals they were, but he suspects one of them was an Irish setter. He gets images of what happened to each of them. One met up with a pack of wild dogs, another with a bus, the third old age. He takes the shovel and thrusts it into the ground, but not near any of their graves. He'd never disturb them, never. Instead, he presses his shovel into the soft earth 2 yards behind the graves. He grunts with every thrust of the shovel, hurling the dirt wildly to the side. Then, at just about 2 feet, the shovel hits something with a dull thud. He drops to all fours and begins scooping out the earth with his hands. With the dirt cleared away, he reaches in, grabs a handle, and tugs until it comes up. He's holding a briefcase that's waterlogged and covered in mud. He puts it on the ground, flicks open the latches, and opens it. The moment he sees what's inside, Cy-Ty's entire brain seizes. He's frozen in a total system lockup. He can't move, can't think, because it's all so bright, so shiny in the slanted red rays of the sun. There's so many pretty things to look at, he can't move. But he must move. He must finish this. He digs both of his hands into the jewel-filled briefcase, feeling the fine gold chain slide over his hands, hearing the rattle of metal against metal. There are diamonds and rubies, zircons and plastic, the priceless and the worthless, all mixed in together. He doesn't remember where or when he stole any of it. He only knows that he did. He stole it, hoarded it, and hid it, put it in its own little grave to dig up when he needed it. But if he can give it back, then maybe. With hands tangled in gold chains, more binding than the handcuffs on the policeman's belt, he stumbles toward the man and the woman. Bits and pieces, rings and pins, fall from the tangled bundle into the brush of the yard. They slip through his fingers, but still he holds on to what he can until he's in front of the man and woman, who now hold each other, as if cowering in the path of a tornado. He falls to his knees and drops the bundle of shiny things at their feet, and rocking back and forth, he makes a desperate plea. Please, he says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Please, he says, take it, I don't need it, I don't want it. Please, he says, do anything, but don't unwind me. And all at once, Cy realizes that Tyler doesn't know. The part of the boy which comprehends time and space isn't there and never will be. Tyler can't understand that he's already gone, and nothing Cy can do will ever make him understand. So he goes on wailing, please don't unwind me. I'll do anything. Please don't unwind me, please. Then behind him, he hears a voice. Tell him what he needs to hear, Lev says. He stands there with such wrath in him, he feels the earth itself will split from his anger. He told Cy he'd witness this, but he can't witness it and not take action. Tyler's parents still huddled together, comforting each other instead of comforting Cy. It makes Lev even more furious. Tell him you won't unwind him, he screams. The man and woman just look at him like stupid rabbits, so he grabs the shovel from the ground and swings it back over his shoulder like a baseball bat. Tell him you won't unwind him, or I swear I'll bash your worthless heads in. He's never spoken to anyone like this. He's never threatened anyone, and he knows it's not a threat today. He'll hit a grand slam if he needs to. The cops reach for their holsters and pull out their guns, but Lev doesn't care. Drop the shovel, one of them yells. His gun is trained at Lev's chest, but Lev won't drop it. Let him shoot. If he does, I'll still get in one good swing at Tyler's parents before I go down. I might die, but at least I'll take one of them with me. In his whole life, he's never felt like this before. He's never felt this close to exploding. Tell him now. Everything freezes in the standoff. The cops and their guns, Lev and his shovel. Then finally, the man and woman end it. They look down at the boy, rocking back and forth, sobbing over the random pieces of tangled jewelry he spread at their feet. We won't unwind you, Tyler. Promise him. We won't unwind you, Tyler. We promise. We promise. Cy's shoulders relax, And although he still cries, they're no longer sobs of desperation. They're sobs of relief. Thank you, Cy says. Thank you. Lev drops the shovel. The cops lower their gun, and the tearful couple escape into the safety of their home. Cyrus's dads are there to fill the void. They help Cyrus up and hold him tight. It's all right, Cyrus. Everything's going to be okay. And through his sobs, Cy says, I know, it's good now. It's all good. That's when Lev takes off. He knows he's the only variable of this equation left to resolve, and in a moment the cops are going to realize that. So he backs into the shadows while the officers are still distracted by the scurrying couple and the crying kid and the two dads and the shiny things all over the ground. Then once he's in the shadows, he turns and runs. In a few moments, they'll know he's gone, but a few moments is all he needs because he's fast. He's always been fast. He's through the bushes into the next yard and onto another street in 10 seconds. The look on Cy's face as he dropped the jewelry at the feet of those horrible, horrible people, and the way they acted as if they were the ones being victimized, these things will stay with Lev for the rest of his life. He knows he's been changed by this moment, transformed in some deep and frightening way. Wherever his journey now takes him, it doesn't matter, because he's already arrived there in his heart. He's become like that briefcase on the ground, full of gems yet void of light, so nothing sparkles, nothing shines. The last bit of daylight is gone from the sky now. The only color left is dark blue fading to black. The street lights have not yet come on, so Lev dodges through the endless shades of pitch. The better to run, the better to hide, the better to lose himself now that darkness is his friend.